Alrighty. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to another edition of Happy Hour Live. I'm Wes Styles from Rock 96.7 here in Bloomington, Illinois. Thank y'all for tuning in. Share the link. Tell your friends about it. Brent Smith going to be joining me in just a second. Make sure you leave a comment wherever that might be, however you're viewing. In the comment section, drop a question, and we'll try to get to as many as we can throughout the time that we have with Brent here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Brent in right now. There he is.
What's up?
How you
What's happening,
doing,
everybody?
sir? Man, how are you doing right now with everything that's been going on? I know you've been home now for a while, like myself. Actually, I've been working from home now for about 10 weeks. How's everything going for you?
I'm technically not what I would say I'm not home particularly. In California right now, Ventura County, because, 7-8 weeks ago when all this was going down, we were in Malibu, California, working with our producer friend, longtime producer friend Dave Bassett. Me and Zach have a brand new Smith and Meyers record coming out later on this year. That's a double album. So we were in the studio working nonstop. And then pretty much the day that we found out that South by Southwest had been canceled, we kind of came up for air and we're looking at each other going, what's going on? So, and then it was bang. As soon as you open up any kind of a feed that we weren't really paying attention to because we were in a studio, we just kind of got hit with everything that had been going on. So I'm still in California right now, waiting on our producer to come back from Hawaii, who was supposed to be back 9 weeks ago. But obviously some things have transpired. But I'm good, man. Everybody's healthy. The band's healthy. Everybody in the band, the families are good. Obviously, we know people that have contracted the virus, but thankfully, pretty much everyone has recovered from it. Everyone's been as safe as they possibly can, and just staying in touch with each other in the best way possible.
Absolutely. You say you're waiting for him to come back. Do you still have some stuff to do and finish with the Smith and Meyers record?
Yeah, so it's a 20-song album. It's a double record, 10 songs that were voted on by the fan base for new covers that we're doing. And then for the very first time, 10 original songs that me and Zach wrote. And out of the 20, we had 17 done before he had to run to Hawaii. And he actually comes back tonight. And then Monday, I'll be back up on the hill finishing up that. And then I leave California on June 1st, head to Florida. And then towards the back half of June, I'll be heading to Charleston, South Carolina with Mr. Eric Bass as we begin the beginning stages along with him and myself and Zach and Barry with Shinedown 7.
Well, you have definitely opened the door to so many questions I had. So we'll start breaking down from what you said there. Starting with, you mentioned the new songs for Smith and Meyers. How different are those from, say, a Shinedown song, or are they very different at all?
They're completely different. Okay. I mean, look, they have my voice on them, but it's just a different style as to what we're doing. When we did the original Smith and Meyers, which was 2 EPs, 5 songs each, that was something just for fun. People over the years had asked us in the band, would you, because of the Lynyrd Skynyrd cover, people had asked before, like, would you ever cover anything else? And we're like, we're not really a cover band, but never say never. So we did that for the fan base. And then it just had such a reaction that it's taken us a little while because we've kind of been busy with Shinedown.
Just a little.
it was time to do it. And we wanted to make it really special. And we also didn't want to do just a certain amount of songs. But it's very interesting to be able to go into an environment and do something that is outside the box of what we do in the band. But in the same vein, what we're trying to do with it also is serve ourselves in regards to the original material, what we really love to kind of put out in the atmosphere, what we're into. And then with the covers, not doing these songs the way that people maybe thought we would do them. So it's a really interesting record. I think people are really going to be kind of, hopefully they're knocked out by it in a good way, just because it's going to be a bit more, it's just not going to be what people expect.
Okay. Well, look forward. You say potentially August at this point, right?
That's what we're hoping for.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, everything's kind of being put into a different momentum right now. I mean, the other thing, we have a lot of creativity that was already on the roster and on the schedule for 2020 with us in the band, because the last show of the year, 2019, we finished up at the O2 Arena with Alter Bridge. We filmed that show and recorded the audio, so that's going to be coming out. this year as well. Not to mention Attention had its second anniversary, its second birthday. We dropped a prelude on that. People have been asking, is this what we think it is? And yes, there is a feature film of the Attention story that's going to be coming out probably closer to like the holidays, November, December. But that is also going to be coming out as well.
I remember talking with Barry right after the Illinois State Fair last summer. After the show, he and I caught up a little bit, and he was mentioning, he's like, as soon as we get done here, we're flying back out, and we've got to go finish the filming for that thing at the point. So you guys have been working on this for quite some time. How different is it to be working on a film project and then mix it with your music, almost like a Pink Floyd's The Wall?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about it is that when the album came out, a lot of people, and rightfully so, when you look at the record, the first thing that you think of with Attention is that it's a concept album. But in a lot of ways, really, it's a story album. And the difference is, like with The Wall, there were like these significant places, character names, all these different elements. Same thing with like, you know, The Who's Tommy, or even like Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. This is literally a musical that is set to the songs. So in a lot of ways, it is the story of what Attention is, but Attention is a story about all of us. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, whether you're younger, whether you're older, the color of your skin, that's irrelevant because we're all the same inside. Your religion, that's your personal business. Like, this was an album about everyone from all walks of life. So when you see the film portrayed, of the 4 songs and the videos we've released already, we've done that intentionally. We kind of borrowed a little bit from Quentin Tarantino with the mindset of kind of the Pulp Fiction way of releasing things.
Right.
So it's going to be rad to finally be able to present the story in its entirety, in its order.
Okay. So you say around potentially holiday time at this point for this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's literally like in we're pretty far into the editing stage with it right now. Bill Yukich, which is the director, who's the guy's just on a different creative level. This is just as much his baby as it is ours.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I again remember talking with Barry and how excited he was, and just I can see your excitement for it as well.
Yeah.
Going back to that O2 Arena show, Jodes asked, when the London show comes out, will it be on Blu-ray?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna
100%.
All right, film and also audio for fans, so they get both.
Everything.
Cool. Looking forward to that. Before we jump into everything else here, I talked to Lizzie Hale yesterday, and I asked her, I was like, what question or statement would you have for Brent today leading into this? And all she left me with was,
oh, hell.
Take.
I just did her show a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
We had a blast. Yeah. Bring it on.
All she said was, take scissors to your own hair and then post about it.
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It might happen because, like, it's not that like my hair is too out of control, I guess you would say. It's just it's now reached that point of just pure annoyance. It's just like, you know, coming down over the ears. It was cut in a different way, but you know, I sound like a little baby right now. I'm talking about I need a haircut.
There's so many people that are direly and desperately needing a haircut right now. So you're not alone in that regard, but
everybody has basically just said, just grow it out, Brent. I'm like, nah, I've done that already. I always think it makes me look older, I think. Like when I had long hair, I mean, that was fine, but it was interesting. When I cut my hair for the first time in 2013, I had not cut my hair since I was 16 years old. And it was long, like for that entire time. So it was very interesting to like cut it for the very first time. I like became a different person. I also lost 70 pounds, but regardless, you know.
Well, at least you didn't have the backlash like when Metallica cut their hair. You remember that around the Load Reload album.
Yeah. I also remember when everybody was calling them sellouts and Jason Newsted so eloquently said, yeah, we sell out every seat in the house.
Yep. Just like you guys do. And of course, the tour had to be postponed. We're right now shooting for August and September. Yeah, you made a comment in an interview a couple days ago, and then you had to almost apologize or correct the statement because
no, I didn't apologize.
Okay. Well, but it felt like the news sites were almost taking that comment you made, which I read it as exactly you went ahead and clarified the statement, but I
Yeah.
read it exactly how you said it, almost like they sensationalized that thing.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. I think the last thing that anybody needs right now is any more negative news. So I understand maybe where whoever felt like it was what they needed to do was to basically change what I said.
Hmm.
But I made a statement. The comments were misconstrued because someone altered what I said. The reality is that, and just for people that maybe don't know, um, we were one of the few bands that were able to see this. I have to give a lot of credit to our booking agent, Ron Opaleski at William Morris, because when a lot of other agents were kind of trying to wait it out, and I'm going all the way back to like February, he said to us when he kind of started seeing this beginning, we need to move this tour. And I was actually the person at the time that was saying, no, let's just hold on a minute. You know what I mean? And he chose to ignore me. God bless him. And he went ahead and made sure that he had the holds to reschedule the tour to August and September. We're actually supposed to be on the deep dive tour right now.
Right.
And we were able to reschedule it with dates. But I want people to understand something too. The last thing we will ever do is put our fan base in any kind of a situation that's not safe. I mean, even before a virus or anything of that caliber even came into our lives, our priority with our fan base, whether it's us as the headliner, or we're a part of a festival, or we're a part of a package that's on tour collectively, and the people that we work with, the fan safety is always the number one priority. I mean, ultimately, we all want to get through this pandemic and we all want to get through it safely, but we're in complete contact with not only the governors in those states that we are hoping to play, but also the mayors in those counties and what have you inside of those cities. But let me be totally frank with everybody. If it is not safe to conduct these concerts, then we will reschedule them again, or we'll figure out what to do next. As of right now, they're up, but we will never, under any circumstances, put our audience at risk.
Lizzie and I were speaking of just the idea of getting back into the concert world again yesterday, and she was thinking, maybe to start, we're gonna have to do smaller venues, no
Yeah.
matter the size of the band, and then grow from there. What's your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on reintroducing concerts to the world?
If I have to be honest, which I would always be, looking at it as it's transpiring daily, looking at what other countries are actually doing, and seeing how we're doing it, I think that overall, in order to do it safely, I think that there has to be a level of, I don't know if it can be done without a vaccine. And I don't know, to get people's mindset to actual think stadium size mass gatherings. If you're talking about 50,000, 60,000 people all in one area again, I think what you would have to collectively look at, and obviously I'm talking about something much bigger, but I think that the nation would have to see 60 days of no reports of COVID-19 at all, no new death, just no reports of them at all. And I think 60 days probably would clarify and calm everybody down to where they would feel comfortable doing it at that point. But obviously, we're going to have to adjust. We're going to have to look at some things. I mean, the same thing too with the media right now. And I'm not being a finger pointer here. I just think that I echo a statement with the way the public is right now. The news is a bit of Groundhog Day every day. And yes, I do think that we need to be aware of all the institutions and the organizations that are working on a treatment and that are working on a vaccine, for which there will probably be more than one vaccine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I a scientist. I don't know that. But I have a lot of people that I am talking to right now, and they are doctors and they are scientists. And I think what needs to be understood is that we get it, that we need a vaccine and we need to get control of this and we need a treatment. But until there is an actual statement of, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, the world, we have it, here it is, and this is how we're going to administer it. I think that you're causing a lot of unnecessary stress with people by just daily This person's got an idea. This person's got an idea. We get it. Everyone's got an idea. Let's get something actually done,
Yeah, not
and
just on
that,
paper, actually work
yeah.
it out.
And that's a difficult thing for anybody to try to, because listen, people are scared, and rightfully so. But what you can't do is you can't completely just annihilate someone's I don't want to say the idea of holding on to hope, but during this entire pandemic, what I have seen in the course of the last 2 months is the amount of people that have put their politics aside, and it's been about their brother and their sister and their fellow man, woman, and child, and just helping each other. And I've often said that I think human beings, we're at our best when we need one another, and that's exactly what we need right now. We need encouragement. We need help with kind of getting past this and understanding that we are going to have to navigate this as best as we can. But I gotta say, man, the amount of grace that I'm watching a lot of people exude with each other, that's the one thing that actually does make my heart smile, because people, they are trying to help each other. They really are.
Absolutely. It's good to see those good vibe things come out of it, because like you said, there's so much negativity in the news, but when you can go through your feed on your phone and actually see good things come about,
Yeah.
it makes me smile too. I mean, it's tough. Again, working from home, you're out in California. Obviously, you're away from your family at this point, right?
I am, yeah. I'm hoping to, like I said, June 1st, I'm going to head to Florida. My son is my number one priority right now, but I also want to make sure that when I get to Florida to be around here, that not only he is okay, which everyone, like I said, luckily everyone is safe, everyone's good. I've been tested in the last 2 weeks. I'm negative, but I'm negative on not only COVID-19, but also the antibodies. I did the antibody test and I did the COVID-19 test just to kind of see, so I would know. I mean, a lot of us, when we were in Europe last year, I think, the first one when we got over there in late October, early November. Right out of the gate, man, I got sick as soon as I got there. And, we started thinking back that, maybe it was, who knows? But, I'm here to tell you that, look, I had an idea that maybe I would have antibodies of some sort or what have you, and I didn't. So that's the other thing, too. Looking at this from all different sides, one thing you can control with this right now, and something that's going to be very beneficial for everybody, I can't stress it enough. If you've been thinking about starting a workout program, or you've been thinking about starting to look at how you eat and what you are eating and change your lifestyle and become healthier, now is the time to do that, because you do have the time to start that journey. And I'm here to tell you, you can do it. You just got to do it one day at a time. I think more than anything, with all the talks about our immune systems and clarifications of that, and what we really need to know about vitamin D and all the other statements that are coming in, it's really, in all essence, it's just about taking care of yourself. You know what I mean? And there's so much knowledge out there that there are different programs that you can get involved with. Beachbody is an excellent way of doing that. You can go on, and they're not asking me to say this. I'm saying it because I've been using Beachbody for over 7 years now. I've been an advocate of the Insanity programs and what Shaun T does, because the dude's awesome. And there's a lot of programs on Beachbody that can help you while you're at home, that you don't need any equipment. You don't need any of those things. And you can start these programs. You need to do it safely, and you should consult your doctor. But at the end of the day, too, starting a workout program and changing your diet and becoming healthier, that's something you can control.
Yes, and that is something I've actually looked into doing. I have a friend of mine who's in a band called Shallow Side, and also has a side business that deals with fitness. And he has developed a program specifically for me to do at home with whatever I have available to me, so that I can start doing it every single day. And that is something I got to get. He gave it to me, but I haven't started yet. But like you said, it's just getting to that point of starting.
And remember something too, like if you've not worked out in a while, or you've never started a workout program, understand that it literally is one day at a time. Back in 2010, I made a decision that I wanted to get healthy and I wanted to lose weight. I'm 5'8". So I weighed, at my heaviest, I was 222 pounds in 2010. And from 2010 into 2012, I had lost the equivalent of about 70 pounds. But I didn't do that by thinking on the Monday I started the workout program, and on
Mhm.
Sunday I was going to be able to do a Spartan race. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
I literally took it one day at a time. And my boys out here in California, when I lived out in Thousand Oaks, my boy Rich and my boy Mike, who are very, very close friends of mine to this day, they also helped me and trained me and taught me how to, how to do it right.
That's awesome. Well, you're an inspiration to so many people in the Shinedown Nation. I want to switch gears real quick and talk about Atlas Falls.
Sure.
Obviously, that single has been out. You guys raised a lot of money for it with the t-shirt sales and the song sales. But you've talked about that enough. What I want to ask is, you pulled that out of the vault from the Amaryllis time.
Yeah.
How much material is actually sitting in the Shinedown vault that we haven't seen yet?
Recorded or just kind of sitting there?
Both.
I would say you're probably looking in excess of over 1,000 songs.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're talking about a 20-year career.
Right.
You know
No,
what I mean?
absolutely.
Really, if I'm technical, me and Barry have known each other for 20 years. And I mean, at this point, Zach has been with us. I mean, I've known Zach now going on 18 years. Eric's been with us for 15 now. And when I look at, from the very beginning in like 2003, when the first album was released to where we are now, I would say probably close to 1,000 songs that no one's ever heard. Some of them are recorded and some of them are, and when I say recorded, like they're demoed out, they're in some form
Right.
of, drums, bass, guitar, vocal, ready. Some
Completed.
some stuff is just off of like as far back in the day as like we just transferred stuff from, ADAT or like a tape player of some sort, and we just digitized it, but it's just like ideas or what have you. But I would say probably about 1,000 songs.
That is impressive. Now, I know you're not one, because we've talked about this in the past, to look back in the past to look at the things you've done. So
Yeah.
do you ever see yourself as a band releasing something like a rarities or a B-sides album down the line?
It's interesting. We have a lot of those types of questions that we can answer in the future. I don't want to take anything up. I don't want to take anything away from Zach Meyers, because Zach's putting together all kinds of wild stuff for Shinedown right now. Because we're trying to look at some really, really cool things that we want to do for the fan base and for people that maybe they're just finding out about who Shinedown is. That's really the beauty of our audience. We've always said we only have one boss. It just happens to be everybody in the audience. So we're trying to do a lot of different things for them. But in answer to your question, yeah, I could see something like that happening down the line. I mean, and one of the things with Atlas Falls was just during that time, finding out about Direct Relief and how important they are in the situation that we're all in, and deciding to work with them and asking them if we could create a partnership. Atlas was written during the Amaryllis writing cycle. I always had a kinship to that song. The band always loved that song. And once again, we write a lot of songs for records, and we don't really demo out anymore. Like when we go in and we write something, we'll record it like it's going to be going on a record no matter what. Okay. And so just because a song doesn't make an album doesn't make it a bad song. It just means for whatever reason at that point in time, it just wasn't right for that material or for that record. So when all this kind of started to happen, and I've been asked before about Atlas Falls, did we go in and redo the lyrics, or did we take the mix and kind of, 2020 it up and make the mix a little bit more current? I'm like, no, I mean, the song is the same song you hear today as it was 8 years ago, but it's a song about optimism and perseverance. And it's really about humanity in a lot of ways too. And when we were partnering with Direct Relief, and I got to give it to the audience too, this shirt and this partnership is about 5.5 weeks old now. You can go to shinedown.com, hit the Atlas Falls link, and that's where we'll give you the information about if you want to donate, get the shirt and the song. But we've raised over $300,000, and that's because of the fan base, and it's still continuing to grow. But the song was, for us, we were trying to put something out that was giving people hope and optimism, and the idea of just hold on, because we're going to get through it, because that's what we do. The human spirit is a very, very powerful thing. And the funny thing is, by the way, this was crazy, because 2 minutes ago I got a knock on my hotel door. I got a package, and I was wondering what it is, but I donated to Direct Relief also, and I got my shirt today.
So you got your own shirt.
I donated, and I got the actual shirt today. So I was super, super stoked about that. And everything happens for a reason. But absolutely. I can't thank the fan base enough for what they're doing and the support that they're giving Direct Relief, because they really are an incredibly powerful and very necessary organization right now. And also you two with the radio station and all the, support that you've given the band over the years. We can't say thank you enough. And we really do appreciate the support. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And I have been a supporter of yours. You and I go back, and
Long time.
A long time. Youngstown, Ohio, and the cellar in Struthers, Ohio.
Yeah, man.
Remember the old
100%.
church pews.
Yep.
So
I'll never forget it.
Oh, that little club. God bless it. Don't even know if it's still around. So, but to all those who were there, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But with such a long career now, man, I mean, you guys have changed musically over the course of time, and for a good reason. I mean, you've grown. Where do you see the band going next musically for this next record?
You know what? It's interesting because me and Barry and Zach and Eric were recently talking about this. Like I said, right around towards the end of June, I'm going to be heading to Charleston, with Eric, and we're going to start kind of laying the groundwork for the beginning of the writing process for what's going to become Shinedown 7. Here's the thing about us. Because the audience has always allowed us to be ourselves, because we always want them to be themselves, then we've been given this freedom to be able to take people on a lot of different journeys musically. We don't really subscribe to one style, because for us, it's about the song. I've often said, I mean, I'm the main lyricist in the band, but I started writing songs because it was cheaper than therapy. You know what I mean? And for some reason, we've always just been okay with being very upfront about the subject matter. But what we have talked about in the last couple of records is that because we use a lot of soundscapes and we use a lot of instrumentation, obviously we love the core of drums, bass, guitar, badass vocals, and a killer song, whether you're, male fronted band or a female fronted band or both. That's the core of rock and roll, because rock and roll, as I remember when Ice Cube got in, when NWA got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Ice Cube said rock and roll is a spirit, and I couldn't agree with him more. And it's a way of life for people. But what I will tell everybody, even with those soundscapes, and even we're not afraid of using those elements such as piano, such as lots of different voicings, a lot of different instrumentation. We have talked about making a record that does go back to basics, but in a very ferocious way, meaning making the next Shinedown record really and truly about drums, bass, guitar, and just the most intense vocals we can present with the most honest song structures and subject matter that we can present to the world. I think you're finally, for the people that have been asking about what the next Shinedown record is going to sound like, not to jinx it either, because we're known for getting in there and wanting to kind of tinker and do stuff. But it's more about like the idea of less is more, I believe, on this next project, and really, really making it like straight up in your face. Not using as many effects on things, and not having a quote unquote dry mix on all the instrumentation, but having a very upfront mix. And it's something that we've been saying over the last couple of records, that that's what we wanted to do. And we've kind of gone in some different directions. I think finally on this next chapter, we're really going to focus on the core of the instrumentation of what the four of us do. And really trying to put all of that to the forefront, and not using as many bells and whistles, using the instruments and just laying it down, man.
I'm looking forward to that, because just the idea, the thought of that is fantastic, because that almost reminds me of like a Leave a Whisper, but with like a modern feel.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at it in that. Let me tell you, for me personally, this conversation kind of started too about like the upfront mixes. I actually kind of did something about a year ago where for a couple of months, I just tried to source out. The beautiful thing about the way that we consume music is that it's just limitless, and there's so much out there that's either really, really new, or things that you forget about or you didn't even know about from the past. So what I kind of started to do was I started to search more of the upfront records, and lo and behold, man, I came across an album that I had forgotten how strong of a record it was. And at the time when it was produced and it was put out, people were just like, this doesn't sound like anything else. And the mix is super dry. The songs, the vocals, everything is all up in your face. But man, it's a powerful record. And that's the first Danzig record.
Oh, wow. That's a curveball. I did not expect that out of you.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting too, man. Like some of the other Danzig material, I wasn't that big of a fan. Like after the first record, I didn't really get into Lucifuge 2 and some of the other stuff like with the Gods That Kill and things like that. But man, I went back and listened to that first Danzig record. And if you want kind of a crash course, if you will, on just a dry mix on an album. And the interesting thing is the producer of that record was Rick Rubin, and the engineer of that album, if I'm not mistaken, it was a combination of Brendan O'Brien and Sylvia Massey. I know that Sylvia Massey was an engineer on Lucifuge too. But you go back and you learn about these incredible producers working, and that album was like, I think it came out in like 1989. And, you're talking about a legendary individual here. You go all the way back to the Misfits and Sam Hain and what have you. But kind of hearing those more dry records and some of that more punk rock element, it's cool to go back and listen to those records. But that was probably the first record where I'd forgotten how rad those songs were. But when you listen to that mix, man, it is just bang in your face.
1988 is the release of the record, and I'm looking over the course of who was involved in it. And did you by chance, because Danzig actually recently released a Elvis covers record, have you heard this thing yet?
I have seen it. I have not listened to it yet.
I haven't either, so I figured I'd pick your brain on that one.
Well, I mean, I find it endearing that the dude will embrace, his humility of sorts also, because the memes that have gone on forever about evil Elvis and the whole thing about when he got some people
knocked
think that
out
when he was sucker punched or but it's funny, man, when he talks about that, this is a dude that has had such a very interesting career, you know what I mean? And he knows how to make fun of himself, and he knows how to not take it so seriously now. I think it's kind of endearing to see that.
Absolutely. You talk again about stripping things down. I've seen the band with a whole pyro and light show. Then I've also seen you, strip down in the last couple of years with just the four of you on stage, and that's pretty much it. When you go out on tour and you're building up the stage setup, how's that process go in the band in terms of drawing it out? How are we going to do it and so forth?
It's a combination of really, in essence, it's myself and Zach. Barry and Eric really allow us to do that because they trust us.
Poor Barry then, because I mean the amount of pyro that's always around Barry while he's drumming and sweating so profusely during the set. It's interesting. He welcomes all that. People sometimes will see, that he's in this, for lack of a better way of saying it, he's like just in this ring of fire. You know what I mean? And they're like, he's got to be just suffering. And he'd be the first one to tell you, make it hotter, turn it up. There's something interesting about him and how he conducts himself. He literally is the foundation of this band. And, I think about drummers a lot of times and it's always cool to see people that are really flashy and can play really fast and they can do a lot of different techniques and what have you. It's interesting because I work with a drummer, the three of us, myself, and Zach and Eric, work with, in our opinion, the greatest drummer in the world, because he can do all of that stuff, but he's in a band that he will tell you he plays for the songs and he plays for those moments, not only on record, but also live. He's trying to be as incendiary as he can, as explosive as he can, but also he knows how to lay back. He knows how to stay in the pocket. He knows when to be ahead of the beat and when to be behind the beat. And that you either have that or you don't, man. And for us, when we're putting those elements into the stage show and how we're going to work it and how we're going to do it, we're also very lucky that we have vendors, from the pyrotechnics, from the lighting, to the fire, to the laser, to the audio, to the staging. We have a pretty incredible team of people that have worked with us for the better part of now doing shows of that caliber, a good 10, 12 years. If you can dream it up, man, there's people that can make it a reality for you.
but also inside of that too, you have to learn how to be cost efficient with it. You know, the days of having 20 trucks, man, you just don't need it. You can do the same thing with 6 trucks. I'm not even like speculating on that, because we've done it. You know, it used to be this idea, like, you know, your tour and your ego was built off of how many buses do you have and how many trucks do you have to come into this arena. And you just don't need it all. You know what I mean? You can put these big shows together, and they're cost effective, and they allow you to be able to focus more on really getting a great crew on the road, because a lot of people need to understand that too. The only reason why movie stars, actors and actresses are able to do what they do has a lot to do with all the people behind the scenes. Same thing with sporting events and competitions, and when people are touring on the road and what have you. If we did not have these crews, these men and women that, I mean, when you talk about there are the first ones in and the last ones out, they are. I mean, these individuals, they go in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they load out, and the last truck is usually closed around 3:30 in the morning, and then they do it the next day, you know, and they just keep doing it. And really right now, you know, those are some of the most affected people in our industry with this virus, and how they're having to support their families, and how we're looking at how to get back the entertainment industry safely, mind you. But yeah, I think people should know there is a lot of men and women behind the scenes making those giant shows what they are.
Oh yeah, you don't even see them half the time because, like you said, they set up the show beforehand. You don't see them until after, and most of the time your back is turned to them because you're out the door.
And they're trying to not only take your vision and take your work ethic and the way that you treat people, and how you want to be remembered when you leave that venue and then you come back. You want the locals there to remember that I really like that band. That band's really nice, and their crew is total pros, and we love having them. So that means a lot in this industry, and I think it's something that people do forget about it. I mean, I'll give you an example. Last year, when we did our summer tour with Dinosaur Pileup and the Broken Hands and our friends in Bad Flower, that was on a daily basis. We were responsible for, and when you add in the locals to this, it changes the amount of people. But you're talking about 228 people on average a day that we were responsible for, that were all moving in just, it's a dance in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And when it all is moving the right way, but between tour managers and production managers and stage managers, and then you have all the techs that do all these little things that make a big difference. You know, these people they're so awesome, and they're so extraordinary. And, you know, right now we're doing everything in our power to help them at this time as well, along with a lot of people from an economic standpoint, to get the industry back. But yeah, the people behind the scenes, they're the last ones that are thought about, but in our mind and in our hearts, you know, they're essential to what we do. You know, they're vital for this industry to keep going.
And I always say, bless the bus drivers, because they have probably one of the worst jobs in the entire industry for what they deal with. Not saying you, but bands in general.
Oh no, back in the day, man. Back in the day, dude, it was everything that any kind of cliche you could think of. That was us. You know, it's not like that anymore. But I mean, dude, just from me to you, we've known each other a long time. I mean, it's 2020. I'm 42 years old, and I think about the times that I'm lucky to be here, man, because I was able to kind of figure it out, I guess you would say, in the right amount of time. But yeah, bus drivers, they deal with all kinds of crap. They got to deal with these kids that are basically on the road for the first time, and they're just losing their minds. So there's different levels of drivers, but yeah, we give our drivers a lot of respect nowadays, man. We kind of grown out of that era.
Yeah, well, bringing a stop sign on the bus, I mean,
that was me.
Yeah, you said that in the interview you did with Lizzie, so I think of that too, and the poor guy that had to clean that up afterwards.
I remember that guy too, man. God bless him. He changed his name. We kept up with him for years too after that. I'm going back like, 18 years, but his name was Weasel Strychnine. He literally had his name changed to Weasel Strychnine. He was one of the most punk rock dudes I have ever met in my life. and he handled it all with grace, though, man. He got a kick out of it in a lot of ways, but God bless that dude, man.
Well, I mean, we can start wrapping up here, but I want to go ahead and get into a couple quick questions, if you don't mind, from the
Let's have it.
audience.
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to start with, before we get to the comment section, my 12-year-old niece Dakota wanted me to ask this question. She just wants to know, what song for you is the most meaningful that you've ever written?
That is such a tough question. They all have a significance to them. I mean, if I was to say right now, I will forever have a very unique relationship with the song Sound of Madness. Okay. Mainly because it's just, I've been asked before to sum up the band in one song if you had no choice and you had to. Mm-hmm. I think that encompasses a lot of who we are, and, you know, that willingness to accept your past and your faults, but to not wallow in it. You know what I mean? Like, I've often said that you have to fall in a hole in life sometimes to figure out how to get out of it. It's one of the reasons we named the band Shinedown, because it's the yin and the yang. Everything that's good has a little bit of bad, and everything that's bad has a little bit of good. It's all about balance. But that song will always be really a war cry for me, more than anything.
All right. Jodes asked, German chocolate cake. Have you
Damn
made
it? I knew this was going to happen. I have not gone back. I tried it I got all the accoutrement and did it like 5 weeks ago, and I failed miserably. It was just awful.
You're staying at a hotel though, right? So I'm assuming you're like one of those extended stay hotels, or?
Yeah, like I'll show you. Like, that's my little kitchenette right there. Check
yeah.
It. You know, somebody said, man, he is in the Four Seasons. I'm like, I'm not in the Four Seasons. But
you got one room and it's all connected.
But I got to say, I am happy to be I'm at a town square Marriott, and they've been nothing but awesome. If I leave, which I'm planning on leaving on June 1st, I will have been in this hotel for 100 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so they've been nothing but sweet to me. Anyway, German chocolate cake, I tell you what, I will make it before I get out of here. I will make it. I might actually do it this weekend. Now that I've been reminded of it again. I will make it before I get out of here.
All right. Very, very good. Going through all the list here, I'm trying to get to some of these. But while I do that, I want to ask this question, one that I had just personally on the side. The Masked Singer is a huge show right now. Yeah. Could you ever see yourself doing it?
Yeah, if I got the opportunity to do it and it didn't conflict with, you know, schedules and what have you, and I had enough time when they were trying to put the show together and what have you, and I could actually do it, I would totally do something like that. Man, watching my boy Chris, you know, Mr. Daughtry, do it, because, man, I thought he was going to win it. I mean, obviously, I didn't know it was him, but like when he did unmask, I was like, oh my God. I mean, I had a hunch because I know his voice. You know what I mean? I had a hunch it was him, like towards the last couple of showings before he had to unmask. But he did an awesome job.
He did a great job. I was quite surprised too when it was him, but great to see him transform and do something else. What would be your character if you could pick one out the gate right now to be on that show?
Oh, 100%. Some kind of a unicorn with some kind of a unicorn with wings, or I'd have like wings and like amphibian feet, something wild like that. I'd be a hodgepodge of all different kinds of creatures, but I'd start off with a unicorn, hands down. Right.
Now, would you try to disguise your voice on there so that people couldn't call you out immediately?
Yeah, that's kind of the trick, is if you can do that. Because I think one of the things too is they don't want you to use effects on your voice to try to mimic it, you know what I mean? Or like to change it. They want you to kind of try to make it, throw them off a little bit, So that would be the challenge, So yeah, I mean, I definitely would. If I got the opportunity, man, I would throw myself into the role.
I look forward to hopefully that day. Unfortunately, if you do end up picking a unicorn, it's been revealed now at this point.
I know, right?
Oh man,
maybe that was my strategy.
There you go. We got a question asking, how's Barry's arm injury coming along? Do you have any update on that? I don't know anything about it.
He's okay. He's that dude's a Viking. I mean, he's a total gladiator. He really is. you get older and you have to start working out certain, it's what he does. I don't know how to say it in a proper way. There's a lot of sophistication to what he does as a drummer, but at the end of the day, he's still hitting, things for a living. You know what I mean?
And that shock through the arm.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing about him too is he is 1000%. He's an everyman's man. And when I mean that, that dude is for real. That guy hunts, he fishes, he camps. He is very in tune with the earth. He loves the outdoors. He's very hands-on with everything he does. He doesn't necessarily go out and get people to come in and fix stuff for him and stuff like that. If he has a project or something like that, him and his wife, it's awesome, man, because him and his wife and his daughter, they all do things together in that way. So they know how to be, productive. They know how to make things themselves. Mm-hmm. He's always getting into some form of, he just lives life to the fullest, but no, he's fine. He's taking care of himself. He's all right.
All right. Very good. Next question here. Let me pull it up here. What song reminds you of you and your son? Do you have
me one? And my, well, I would have to say the biggest one that reminds me of me and my son is the song "If You Only Knew." Yeah. Because when we were writing the record, "The Sound of Madness," that was really a song that I wrote for not only him but also for his mother. Because when we wrote that song, she was pregnant with him, and it was just something that I remember sitting down and penning those lyrics, and it was really just written for my son and really about my son, because I've said this before and it's very true. My son saved my life. My son was the part of my world that the moment he was born and he came into the world, I realized that it was no longer about me anymore, that I had a responsibility to this incredible little boy who's now 12 years old and becoming quite a man. Yeah. and he really is, man. I'm not just saying this. I mean, he is. He that dude is my hero on so many levels, because at 12 years old, especially with what's going on right now and how he's conducting himself around his friends, and he can't be around anyone at the moment, even though Florida is lifting certain restrictions and what have you, he's being very mindful and very respectful of not only the people around him, and he's just, I mean, dude, there's not enough I can say about him. He's just the number one thing in my life, and he's just a huge part of who I am.
Before you guys had went in to record Attention, we all sat down in St. Louis and had a conversation. Post the interview, we were all talking. You had said you one day would love to bring your son out on tour. Is that still something you want to see happen? I mean, once this is all past and done and we can get back out on the road?
Yeah, I think eventually, once it's safe for everybody to be able to do that collectively. The great thing about my son also is he does not care at all that his dad is a front man of a band. One of the reasons why is because I don't keep that from him. He knows about it, but I've never posted a picture of my son online. Right. I probably never will. Until, maybe when he's 18, I don't know. But I want him to have a childhood, and it's not about me, it's about him. But the thing about the road is, he's starting to ask more questions now, in what really goes into it. Because the idea that it's, a party 24 hours a day or something like that, that's very alien and not the truth. We love what we do. And, look, I'll tell anybody straight up, find something that you love in life and do that, and you'll never work a day in your life. Yes. And the thing about that is he understands that there's a lot of hard work into it, but he's more wanting to go on tour with me now because he wants to see all the behind the scenes, because he's been with me on the road before, not for long periods of time, but I usually have him on the side of the stage for he'll last maybe the first song, and then I'll look back over and he's gone. He's
no care.
He's found a basketball hoop somewhere. You know what I mean? That's just the way he is. I kind of find it endearing that he does not care that his dad is in a rock band.
Do you see, is he into music at all, or do you see him going the route that you've gone, or do you steer him clear of that?
No, I don't steer him clear of it. He's just not interested really in it that much. I mean, he likes music. He's a huge, I mean, I don't want to say huge, but like he recently in the last like year, he's really, really started to dig Nirvana, like gone back. And he digs Rage Against the Machine. That's just started to come up, which I had the show set up, everything. I had it all planned out before this virus decided to be our number one most like enemy of the state, if you will, that we have to destroy. But I had the tickets and everything and the show we were going to go to with the Rage Against the Machine. And I was going to bring him, surprise him. It'll happen, I know, in the future. Yeah, he's definitely kind of getting into, he definitely likes hip hop influenced things, but he does like the heavy guitars. But he's very, very universal too. Like he digs Post Malone. You know, more than anything, I think for him, I think he's starting to enjoy music more, but he's 100% the NBA. Like if it's basketball, sports, that's what he loves, especially basketball. That's kind of his thing. And he works really, really hard at school. So it's something where he doesn't like not understanding things. So we don't have to necessarily have to make him do the extra homework or what have you. Like he'll take the time to figure it out because he doesn't like not understanding.
That's awesome. And by the way, bless every parent, me included here, who has had to transition into homeschool parent as well as working from home. I'm doing that right now with my 10-year-old stepson, and it's definitely a trek.
I give all of the credit to his mother when it comes to that. She's a godsend on that. And me and her have a great relationship. And my son has a little brother who's actually 6 years younger than him. And so, you know, watching him be the mature older brother, and now he's helping him with schooling too. Like, you know, when he's done with the day, like he'll go in and help his brother with what he needs to do also, because his brother's in kindergarten. And my son is, you know, he's going to be in the 7th grade next year. And so that's been interesting to watch also. But yeah, man, to all the moms and the dads out there that are, all of a sudden they have become teachers. Much love and respect to you. I know this is a tough time for everybody, but you know, keep your head up. You're doing a good job.
You mentioned Post Malone. What did you think of his Nirvana tribute show?
This is what I think.
I was unsure of it going.
I was like that. I was like back in the day, Eddie Murphy, like Nutty Professor, like Hercules. That was me. Like, because the dude just crushed it. I mean, the guy just crushed it, man. I've been watching that honestly too. Like my workouts that I maintain a workout schedule pretty much every day. The last couple of days when I've been doing circuit training, if I got like 30 minutes and I just got to knock it out quick, I'll throw that audio up, man, of that performance, man. And I get the 30 minutes done in 10 minutes. No, man, he did an amazing job. A lot of people don't realize, man, that dude he is steeped in a lot of musical knowledge, man. That guy knows a lot.
He knows a lot. He knows how to write a song. Cause I mean, that you can listen to those songs at a party and it'd be cool and you don't pay attention to the lyrics, but then you sit back and you listen to the lyrics at another time. You're like, whoa, this is deep.
Oh yeah, man. The guy's, he's on a different level, man. Smart guy.
Yeah. And I went into that whole performance. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. I like Post, but I don't know how I feel about him doing Nirvana. Totally nailed it. A couple more and we'll wrap up here. Trevor asked, any plans to play Atlas Falls when this is all done and you guys go out and do live shows?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
And then we got one last one here. Any culture shocks while traveling?
Currently? Because I haven't been traveling.
Well, in your career. Yeah, obviously. The most culture shock you have is going down on the market down the street, probably.
Nah, no kidding. Help me out, because everybody has a different terminology of like culture shock. What would you say is a culture shock?
Well, yeah, you're right. Because like I could go, for me, I haven't been out of the US outside of going to Canada and maybe Mexico. So if I went over to England, I might have a culture shock because I'm like, whoa, this is not what I expected.
Right.
So maybe something you didn't expect at that time when you went to wherever you were, whatever country, city, etc.
I'm really trying to think here if there has been like something that has been like a massive culture shock. I mean, The first thing that pops into mind, the biggest culture shock that I ever had was the very first time we went to Japan when we had our very first show in Tokyo, because there is nothing that is even close to an English language at all. So like when you walk off the plane, you are in their world, which rightfully so, it's their country. But that was probably the biggest, but it was also inspiring just to see the language, and you're literally taken out of, I liken it to the very first time we went, and we've been back several times since then, but like the first time we went to Japan, first time we went to Tokyo, just walking around and you had been transported into Oz. You know what I mean? It was just wild that there was just the way that people conducted themselves, how meticulous everything was. And the other thing too, I got to say this, man, like with the decline of record stores in the United States and a lot of other different areas, it was really interesting. Probably one of the things that made me smile when I was there is they still, to this day, and it still does exist there, I believe, they have the last remaining original Tower records.
Yep, I saw that in the documentary.
Yeah, and it's still there, and it's 4 levels, and we were able to there was something to be said. This was on the very, very beginning of the Threat to Survival album. So when we were walking in, and they had on the 3rd level, which was the 3rd level is kind of like the punk rock, metal rock kind of floor.
All right.
So I remember going up the escalator and just seeing the Threat to Survival, the red frame, and the egg and the snake, and it was all in Japanese. So I was just blown away by that. So that's probably the biggest culture shock, but in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had one pop up, so I got to ask this one.
Yeah.
Fun, and I've had the pleasure of seeing you guys front of stage, side of stage, all that stuff. So sometimes when you sit side stage, you can see certain things happen, some inside jokes or whatever have you. I've had the pleasure of that. Not all fans do, but this person asked, funniest thing to ever happen on stage.
Oh my God, there's too many of them. There really is so many of them. I mean, there was one like recently. I'm trying to remember when it was. It was at the beginning of last year. We were in Florida, and it was at the beginning of when we were working with Savage After Midnight, Asking Alexandria, and Papa Roach. And Barry, speaking of which, his family, it was their first show that his mom and dad had been able to attend in like a couple of years. So it was packed. It was in Estero, Florida, and I'm walking back. It's in the middle of the set, right before we did the song "State of My Head." So I've got the microphone, and I'm looking back at Barry. And a lot of what we do is choreographed. So as we're doing certain things and what have you. But I remember I have this move on "State of My Head." Like the intro will start, and I'm like swinging my arm like this,
right,
I'm holding the microphone and what have you. And Barry's kind of giving me the timing, and then I'm supposed to go. It's been like that, and for whatever reason, I was nervous because his parents were there because they hadn't come to a show in so a while. Meanwhile, I mean, the house is packed. There's about 8,000 people. I'm not necessarily thinking about them. I'm thinking about the entire show. I'm like, play a good show for Barry's parents, And inside of that, I'm just swinging my arm back and forth like this, holding my microphone like I always do before the song, and I hit. The microphone hits my knee in the most awkward position, and the microphone just goes flying like out of the I have to run, sprint, grab it, and I grab it just in time to actually begin the song. But it was just the whole, because the lights are on me and you see this whole it was so embarrassing, yet looking at Barry, he could not stop. He's trying to hold it together playing the drums, but it's like you couldn't pry his smile off because he was laughing the entire song, and he's just trying to hold it together. And then the only other one that I could think that wasn't necessarily funny for me, but back in 2012, there was just, we were playing the second stage at Download when we were in the UK. This is 2012. So we're right before the headliner on the second stage. So you're talking, this is 2012, probably 65, 70,000 people. and broad daylight, and they have huge jumbotrons at download. And so Eric is up there, and we're all up there, and he will go commando at times on stage. If you don't know what commando means, it means he's not wearing any underwear. So, because some of the stuff that we wear on stage is really tight. So anyhow, he's up there, he's in a white shirt. His whole getup at that time was all white. So his white shirt, white belt, white, jeans or what have you. He's thrashing the set and everything like that. And we finish the set, and he notices that there's a bit of a draft. He thinks he split the back of his pants. He did split his pants, but he split the front of his pants.
Oh,
so he's like, he's holding his, guitar up like this, up, complete, just out for everybody. But he's on the jumbotron too. So all of him is out there. You just see the whole shift in the audience with everyone just going like that, And but hey, he was on a jumbotron. It was hot that day. So, he did all right, but he looks back at that later, nowadays, and he's just like, yeah, that's semi-embarrassing, but also pretty funny.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Pretty funny.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we've been doing this for an hour. I appreciate you. Stay on the line though, because when I end this broadcast, we'll hit backstage real quick. Okay.
Rock and roll, man.
All right. And I'll finish with this story real quick. I was telling my wife this the other day because she's met you guys on several times. Not the funniest in the world, but one of the. I always tell people this story because of you guys. We were in Albany, New York. It was the end of this run for Amaryllis.
Albany, New York.
Well, it was Clifton Park, New York, I think.
Oh boy, let me have this. What's this? Let's have.
Oh no, it's not. No. It's not like an uberly funny story. It's one of the. It's one of the oddest stories I've had backstage with the band, and I say
Clifton
oddest. Clifton
Park. Was this? Help me out here. Was this? What was the venue in Clifton Park? The club back in the day.
Well, I don't know about the club. We were in a big arena. I didn't live there when you guys came through at that point.
All right,
but
anyway, I'm sorry, I'm messing up.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. So we're sitting backstage. The show's over. You guys are done. You're going home now. And all I remember leaving with, not just my coat because it was snowing that night, but I had so many packages of cheese and sliced meat because you and Barry were like, "Hey guys, we're done. We haven't touched catering. Do you want this block of cheddar? How about this package of roasted turkey? You want that? Here, take it. Just get out of here. Take it with you."
Yeah, well, anytime that it's the last night of tour and we're going home for a minute or what have you, man, we just try to give everybody all the bus stock.
Well, I went home that night to the hotel with all your guys' bus stock, I feel. Me and one of your managers, Ad Rock. So shout out to Ad Rock as well.
Gotta love Adam, man. Did Adam eat all the food?
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay.
And then, well, I'll tell you afterwards. All right, that's it. One last thing I need you to do for me to finish this out for everybody watching.
What's up?
Give me your closing line that you do every time that you end a show to everybody who's watching right now.
Oh, I just always make sure that everybody knows it's never goodbye. It's just till next time.
Exactly. We'll see you guys next time.